Okay, so this is the second part then. So we're going to look at the loop of Henley now. And as we hopefully remember from before, we have the thin ascending limb. Get my colours right a minute. The thin ascending limb, the thin descending limb, which is not permeable to solutes, but it is permeable to water, which means we get a lot of water reabsorption happening here. So it's permeable to water. This is the descending limb, not solutes. But as we're going to see, we do have in this area, we have a lot of it's very salty. We have a high concentration of salts due to what's happening in the ascending limb, which I'll go on to next. So as we sort of near the bottom of the loop, the cells there are still on the epithelial cells are still on the thinner side, and we do get some facilitated diffusion of sodium ions. So sodium can move, and obviously there's a concentration gradient again set up by the thick ascending limb. So the sodium ions in the filtrate are free to move through their ion channels down the concentration gradient. And then we move up, to the thick ascending limb, where again we've got the cells here much thicker. They're full of things like mitochondria because we've got to do a lot of active transport here. The walls here are impermeable to water. I'm running out of room. So these cells are impermeable to water. We say they're thick because they are just much bigger because they're packed full of, as I said, things like mitochondria. And we're using ATP to actively transport sodium ions. Obviously, we've also got cells here doing the same thing. So this whole area is going to be getting more salty due to the sodium ions that are being pumped. So the sodium ions being pumped out. That means, again, we've got a concentration gradient. So, of course, sodium's moving through its facilitated diffusion channels into the epithelial cells, which is then being actively transported out. So we're constantly moving sodium out. But because it's impermeable to water, water can't follow by osmosis. And as we've talked about in a previous lesson, of course, that's then going to have an effect on the descending limb. So water's going to keep on moving out due to the high amount of sodium. I shouldn't have done that in blue. Should have done that in green. So there's tons of sodium here all around. So we call this the interstitial fluid of the medulla. So the more we pump out, the more sodium we pump out in the thick ascending limb, the more water is drawn out, and we get that idea of a countercurrent multiplier. So I think if you look back at your notes, you'll see that we get a salt concentration down the bottom here of around 1,200, and it's only about 300 as it's coming in. So you have to look back at your notes on the full explanation of that.